For those of you that might be new here, my name's Chad. I'm an artist based in San Francisco. I've been painting for the last 10 years pretty consistently. I don't have a formal art practice background, like as far as arts education. I found my way into art through graffiti as a teenager and have just been sort of doing my thing ever since then. Giving you a rundown of what's going on with me this week in the studio. Part of a show in the Dogpatch area, a nice guy named Mike's Residence, which is kind of like an artist loft and also a working space where he does framing and different sort of things out of the space. But a collective called Smart Art Collective actually has a fashion show going on there. And Maurice, who actually came and did a studio visit with me a couple weeks ago, asked me if I wanted to include a piece in the show. So that's going on tomorrow. And then we're gearing up for a show at Upper Market Gallery in a week from today. That should be a cool show. It's a 4-person show with me and 3 other artists. Figurative stuff, and then I have this new body of work that I've been working on that I'm looking to sort of include some work from. So the idea is that some of these new works of art are going to have lights integrated into them as this sort of dialogue between art historical painting and the use of paint as a material to sort of control light. This kind of came out of just me just being in the studio and messing around with different things that I had here, existing materials and lighting, and have been sort of exploring these new seemingly random ideas, but it's all sort of making some sense to me in the moment. So yeah, a couple of the pieces behind me are kind of these pieces that I mocked up out of industrial materials, which is also a sort of new direction that I'm heading in. And the idea behind that as well is to sort of integrate some materials that have this sort of everyday life kind of normal feel to them. It's not, I mean, when I construct them in the way that I do, they end up turning into these things that are slightly foreign looking or slightly out of context. So I think that that's the point of it, but it's also this thing where these are all materials that maybe people have encountered outside of like an art store. It's just stuff that you can find at the hardware store, or stuff that you find if you're renovating your house or doing any sort of like projects or crafts, that kind of thing. So integrating materials that people are maybe finding commonplace. We're all coated up here. If you look, it's pretty uniform, and all I did was use this spatula here. It's basically like a little thing for vinyl stickers, but you can see here too. And then also, I know what people are thinking. You're like, oh, there's a fucking light here, so this thing's gonna get exposed. But what I've found is, at least with the way that I do things, and some videos that I've seen online, is that, you know, these LED lights really aren't exposing the thing too much. So it's just something to keep in mind, is that, you know, the light sensitivity of this stuff isn't like extremely crazy, especially when it's wet, supposedly. And I'll tell you that, you know, like I've gotten pretty consistent exposures, at least out of this particular emulsion. This stuff, good stuff I use, I'll show you later, but I'll show you the light that I use to expose it. But I've been using this actually for like 2.5 years now, and it's pre-sensitized, and it's supposed to last for like 6 months, and it just keeps exposing. So along with that is this whole idea of giving myself permission to sort of let go of old habits and old sort of ways of making. So it's been pretty exciting, and also, you know, just kind of new journey to go on, and keeps it exciting and interesting for me. And I'm sure that the end result of the stuff that I end up making that gets exhibited in the future is something that's going to be a little bit more interesting for the viewer as well. At least that's, you know, part of the intention behind this whole endeavor. So also would like to talk about my goals with the YouTube channel a little bit. This is a little out of my wheelhouse and also a bit uncomfortable, and it kind of makes sense for the way that this year has been going so far. So it's this thing about just exploring territory that I'm unfamiliar with. So that's part of the reason to have a YouTube channel, where it's this thing that I can sort of connect with people on a different level than I do on Instagram, and give them a little bit more of a real sort of look into what I do as an artist, is kind of an exciting idea to me. And I'm not sure if that's ever actually going to be what this ends up turning into, but I see the potential in YouTube, and it's also the social media sort of that I prefer to sort of consume myself. So it kind of just makes sense for me to, find my own lane in it and see what happens, because, it's not sort of one size fits all scenario. So I see it being something that could be, just a good fit for me. So that's what I got going on with that.